Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, The Answer Company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and medi-spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins are looking forward to a great season in 2023. Led by all-star Brian Buxton and acclaimed manager Rocco Baldelli, the Twins anticipate the return to the active roster of numerous players who were injured in 2022 and will be fighting for another division crown and to add to their 2 world championships. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 microdistilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, and all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Welcome to another edition of Access to Democracy. I'm your host, Steve Francisco. It's my pleasure to welcome to our program today Justin Hellickson, who is the branch manager of the Think Bank in Eagan, Minnesota. Today, we're going to be talking about Think Bank, its history, the services it offers to its customers, both individuals and businesses, and about the way Think Bank contributes to the vitality of our communities here in Minnesota. Justin Hellickson, welcome to Access to Democracy.
I appreciate you having me, Steve. Really looking forward to talking with you today. So thank you very much for having us.
So let me start out by asking you, how did you become interested in a career in banking?
I don't know if initially I was interested, but it was, I actually used to be in radio, and then I decided I want to do a career change, and my mom actually has been in banking for close to 50 years now. And so growing up in having the financial, conversations around the house growing up and all of that, she said, you should look into this. And so I looked into it, and I guess I'm still looking into it after almost close to 15 years, I think.
So give us a little briefing, if you would, Justin, on the history of the Think Bank. Where did it start? How did Think Bank start?
Yeah, it's a pretty neat story. So our corporate office is located in Rochester, and that's where it started. It is actually IBM employees. So 7 charter members came together, and they each decided to form their own little bank. And it was, I know you can't see my office, but it was probably the size of my office. And I don't have a big office, but it was the size of this, and they had some drawers that they could lock deposits in, and back in 1961, and they each put $5 in and had a total of $35, and that's how IBM Rochester Employees Credit Union was launched. So,
it just occurred to me, Justin, that I have an uncle who's since passed away, uncle by marriage. He was an employee at IBM in Rochester, and I thought the other day he may well have been one of the early members of the Rochester IBM Employee Credit Unions, quite possible. So tell us about how many locations are there of the Think Bank? You've grown from this one small room at IBM in Rochester. I suspect you don't put deposits in a desk drawer and lock them anymore. Things have advanced past that. But tell us how many branches you have. What locations is the Think Bank at in Minnesota?
Yeah, so we have 8 branches and then our headquarters. So we have 5 branches in Rochester along with our headquarters. And then we have 3 branches up here in the Twin Cities, here in Eagan, and then also Edina since 1995, and then Apple Valley. So Apple Valley and Eagan actually opened on this exact same day back in 2011. So.
Oh, you've been here that long now. I was trying to think back to when I first saw the Think Bank, because your bank is actually located just up the street from where my wife and I live. And it's been here longer than I even realized, since 2011.
Yep.
Great. So tell us about Think Bank is known as a mutual bank, and there's a difference between what we would call a mutual bank and a commercial bank. Can you tell us what that difference is?
Yeah, it's a little unique. There's not a lot of mutuals. I believe we might be the only mutual in Minnesota, but I'd have to double check. At least a while ago we were. But the mutual bank, the nice part about that is we don't have to really worry about shareholders. Our members own us. And so instead of worrying about, shareholders at the end of the year, what we can do with our profits is actually take that money and put it back into products and services that'll best fit our customers' needs and maybe things that they might be asking for or needing. So,
whereas a commercial bank, say Wells Fargo, they're expected to give a return to their investors, their shareholders. Very different model of ownership from a mutual bank then.
Yeah, I'm biased, but I think it's the best setup for a bank. So, but I'm biased, but.
I've been a member of, going way back in my working life, member of a credit union. My father worked at Northwest Airlines, and he was part of the Northwest Airlines credit union, which later has grown to become Wings Financial, a very large credit union here in Minnesota. And so I know the value of credit unions, and they just seem to be an easier place to do business with sometimes than commercial banks. Let's talk a little bit about what the services are that Think Bank offers to individuals and businesses. You seem to have some of the traditional things we would expect from a bank or a credit union: checking, savings, debit cards. But talk a little bit about that, some of the different services that Think Bank provides to its depositors.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to someone about this, one of our customers, one of our new customers here just the other day. It's our checking accounts. Every bank offers checking accounts. Every bank offers loans. Every bank offers, CDs. Your typical things that your 99.9% of customers are looking for. But the thing that we offer is just that it's more of a customer experience focus that we offer that does actually set us apart. I can say that because I'm in the meetings, but behind closed doors, we are literally talking about how we can best improve, better improve our customer experience. And at every decision we make, our customer is at the core. And so, we have free checking accounts. We have, competitive interest rates on auto loans, home equities, whether you're looking at personal loans, credit cards with, I'm sorry, can't think of, like, bonus points and cash back. And so, we have all of that, but really at the end of the day, the thing that keeps our customers, banking with us is really the relationships we built. So.
And the Think Bank also offers CDs, certificates of deposit, and IRAs, individual retirement accounts. Describe a little bit more about those services you provide to your customers.
Yeah, so we offer the 12-month CD up to a 5-year CD, the IRAs. So we actually have a financial planning sector of Think Bank. And our, every advisor at Think Bank is actually non-commissioned. And so we do that on purpose. So again, it goes back to the focus on the customer and not trying to sell just a random product or service to a customer that may not best fit their needs. So really, when you come in to open a CD or maybe looking at an IRA, we really want to kind of take a step back with you as our customer and say, what is the best option for you. So.
Mm-hmm. It seems that in recent years, we've seen a trend in commercial banking toward higher and higher fees imposed upon customers. We're talking about everything from overdraft fees to various fees associated with making withdrawals from accounts at ATMs and other things. How does Think Bank compare to commercial banks in terms of your fee structure? You mentioned that I wanted to ask you too, what about minimum balance requirements and things such as that? How do you differ from some of the commercial banks in that regard?
Well, when Think Bank, with our personal checking account and our business checking account, they actually mirror each other quite a bit. And so, for example, on our business checking account, we have an option where it is a free checking account. It's our Simply Better business checking account. The thing that I love about that is when we say it's free, it's free. There's no minimum balance. There's no monthly or annual service fees. There's no catch. We're not trying to trick anyone, or when we get you in the door, then all of a sudden you might get a fee that you weren't aware of. So it's very straightforward. We want to make banking, especially for commercial and business customers, the last thing they want to do is worry about their banking. And so how can we help with that? And we do that by offering very straightforward, simple products that, low in fees. You mentioned NSF fees. Our NSF fee, I think, has been $22 for, I want to say, at least 10, 11 years. We haven't changed it. And that's minimum. And comparatively to other banks, you're looking at $35 to $40. So it's something that we have to have in place. Obviously, it's kind of like that accountability thing, because we don't want our customers going negative. But at the same time, it's very fair.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about another aspect of Think Bank's services that you provide to customers. And I think it's one that seems to be increasingly important for a lot of people who feel that they're in the dark about how financial transactions work and about banking and savings and investments. You offer retirement planning that Think Bank works in conjunction with Raymond James, I believe, and offering retirement planning, education funding, asset protection. You also offer long-term care planning. Could you say something a little bit more about those services, which seem to be pretty broad in terms of financial education and helping people with planning?
Yeah, and I think it's not, when people hear about investments, or someone who's like an investment advisor or financial advisor, our financial planners, we want to make sure that it's a financial planner, because we're not just here to help you make sure that you have the right investments, but what is your plan? Like, what is your financial plan going forward, both today and then tomorrow? Like, when do you want to retire? How are you going to get there? When you want to retire, what do you want to do? What's your plan? Do you want to travel, or do you just kind of want to maybe downsize and just make it simple? And so that's the beauty of, again, it kind of goes back to that non-commission approach, where we can say, we want to help you get there. And the only way we can do that is by, kind of taking the commission part out of it. And so we can just solely focus on your financial plan and put the best plan together that best fits your needs and your lifestyle. So
this seems really important, especially for people in my age group. I'm part of the baby boomer cohort, and we're retiring in droves not right now. I'm retired, and my wife she's in the process of transitioning to retirement. And actually, we just met with our financial planner earlier this week. We had a long meeting here at our house, went over our status and make sure we're in good shape to be able to go forward with some of the things we want to do, which is actually travel over the next few years while we're able to. So it's something that's really important for people, especially for younger people, that I know for a person in their 20s or 30s, retirement seems like a long way off. And any of us who have reached this point in life, I'm 66, and I look at it and go, how the heck did I get this old this quickly? So retirement comes upon us before we realize it. And it's really important that you start saving and have a plan when you're in your 20s and 30s, so that you can build up some wealth for when you get to your retirement years.
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. It's never too early to start planning. that when you get our customers that are 18 to 20 years old, it's like, let's start now, because that's more of that. We talk about compound interest and that nest egg that you want to have. And it's not necessarily like, just becoming rich. It's more about, like, again, what do you want your life to look like in 20,
Right.
30 years or in retirement? Like you mentioned, you and your wife want to travel. So let's help you get there. And the earlier you start, the more you can travel. And so
That's
it's
right.
kind of that, it's that simple. And I say that 30 years, maybe my wife and I have a couple kids, and if you have a couple kids, 30 years are going to fly by fast, because the first 6 has already flown by for us. So, but yeah,
And
it's going to fly by.
you're already saving up to pay those college tuition bills someday, I suspect. That'll be here before
Yep, we started our 529 plans. We started those right away. But the one great piece of advice that I got from our financial planner is, it's great to save, get your 529 plan started for your kids. But one thing that he said to me, though, said to my wife and I, that really rang true was, you can always borrow for college education. You can't borrow for retirement. And so I just thought it's so simplistic, but so true at the same time. So
important point. Justin, describe for us a little bit about, we've talked about individual financial services, financial planning, financial education. What are some of the services that Think Bank provides to businesses, especially small businesses?
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the same on the personal side. Like I said, we want to make it as simple as possible. So we have your personal loans, maybe like to help you start up your business. We also have auto loans. We have line of credits. And it's all at a competitive interest rate. And we also, have real estate mortgage that we can actually offer on the business side. Those are really important, because we want to make sure that, when a business, wants to get on the ground or needs that funding, that we can help with that to get their plan and their goal started. So, but I mean, like, and on top of the, credit cards that we offer on the business side, again, that offer points, and then our checking accounts, as I mentioned before. So.
You talked about making banking easier on people and a easier experience rather than complicated. Describe, you have online and mobile how-to apps. How do those work? What are we talking about there?
Yeah, it's pretty slick, because you can actually go on our website at thinkbank.com, and it's our online banking is literally called Think Online. And so there's just tutorials there. If someone's not sure of, well, how our bill pay will work or how our mobile deposit will work, there's some how-tos, some tutorials there that you can actually look at, and it can walk you step by step how to set it up or what it's going to look like. Because we want to make sure that, making a decision where you want to bank is a really big decision. And so we want to make sure that what you're coming into, and you have all the best resources available to you for you to make that decision. So, but within our online banking system, it's, it really gained a lot of momentum during the pandemic. But again, we want to make it user friendly. The layout of it, we have an app that is very user friendly, and you can use it 24/7. You can turn off your debit card, because let's face it, we're in the world of people will get a hold of your information, fraud, what have you. Getting a hold of wherever it might be. Maybe it was online somewhere, but you have a lot of you can do a lot from just the online app that you maybe couldn't 5 years ago, and so it's advanced tremendously.
Justin, one of the things I wanted to ask you about in our interview today too, my wife and I are a little bit old fashioned. We're a little bit nervous about some of the online banking that's available, online options, which you've been talking about. How secure is online banking? Because we hear stories practically every day in the news now about healthcare records being hacked into, credit card records being hacked into. How safe is online banking in your opinion?
Well, it's as safe as it can be right now, because when you have customers that sometimes we'll say, my gosh, I have to, it sends me a pin to my cell phone and then it sends me an email and just to get in. And it's like, well, we don't want it to be easy for someone to get into your online banking. We want it to be very difficult for them. So it's like, we'd rather have you maybe go through a couple extra steps just to protect your information. Because again, you got, healthcare and finances are right there. It's a very, that emotional attachment that people have to both
Right.
of those is tremendous. So how can we help protect that? And yeah, we work at it literally every day to make sure that we can keep our customers' finances protected. So
Right. And aside from protections and security measures for online banking, banks are subject to a slew of regulations still, both at the federal and state level. Say something about the regulatory regime that you have to comply with in terms of audits and other measures that regulators impose.
yeah, and I started at Think. This will be 15 years here later this year that I started at Think Bank, and the regulations just they're becoming more stringent. There's definitely a lot more focus around that. It's actually a complete 180 almost. People will talk about when you come and sign for an auto loan, they're like, oh my gosh, this is like signing for a mortgage. And it's like, well, every bank has to do this. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, we understand why these regulations are in place. But, we take our internal audit processes, and regulatory standards that we have to meet. We take that extremely serious. And, we have external regulators that come in, the OCC, they come in and they do their audit once a year. And we're very proud of how clean we are as a bank. And we work really hard to do that because, again, it's all about like, how are we protecting our customers and how are we, how safe are we making their banking with us? So, and we have our own internal audit process. And so,
even though you're a mutual bank, we should be very clear with our viewers that you still are covered by the FDIC, that depositors' accounts are insured by the federal government.
Absolutely. Yep. We are FDIC insured. Anything that essentially a bank, like you mentioned, a commercial bank, is covered, we're the same. And so, we even go as far as doing our own audits internally a few times a year just to make sure that we are very clean and staying very safe and sound. So
good. I wanted to ask you, Justin, about Think Bank's role in the community, both here in Eagan and across Minnesota. I understand that Think Bank is active in the community, that you support a number of nonprofits and community activities. Tell us about what some of those activities are that the Think Bank supports.
I would say, Steve, this is probably at the core of who we really are, is our community involvement. It kind of goes back to the customer care, and we also have the community care. And, in 2022 alone, we supported over 114 organizations and just a little bit shy of $1 million that we had given back to our local communities. And, it's something that we strive for. How can we impact? How can we make, not just here in our branches, but also outside of our branches in our local communities? And, we look at relationships like with the Minnesota Zoo, 360 Communities, the Open Door, Kids in Kinship, Capone Art Park, Treehouse, Eagan Market Fest. I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on. And the thing that I'm proud of is that we don't, for the most part, we don't just write a check just to have our name out there. We write a check and we show up and volunteer. And and that's what is like, it's just kind of, we want to put our I guess not just a stamp on a monetary support, but also how can we get out there and physically and be there to support with emotionally to support too. So
that's really wonderful. And I would imagine too that you and the employees of the Think Bank, I mean, you live in these communities. You may not live right in Eagan. I don't know where you live, But living in Minnesota and knowing how important, you just reeled off a list of some really important organizations in this community that the Think Bank supports. And it's really good to hear that and for people to know that.
And I'll say that just to add one thing that is pretty cool. So every year on Columbus Day, we actually close our company's closed. We close all of our branches. And we all go down to our corporate location in Rochester, and we have what's called our Think Gives Day. So what we do is we all sign up for where we want to go. It might be you're going to be painting somewhere, or you might be doing some landscaping duty, or you might be tying blankets that are going to be donated. The last couple of years, I've been talked into by coworkers to go pull buckthorn at a nature preserve center, and I every year I tell myself I'm gonna do something different the next year, but every year I find myself pulling buckthorn. So it's I don't know what every year, and my wife goes, "You're doing that again?" I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing that again, but it makes you feel good though, and that's why I probably do it. And it's always a lot of fun. Our company's so collaborative and works together that when we can get out and do something like that, we just have a blast with each other. So,
well, I imagine it builds morale among your employees. And what do the French have a great phrase, esprit de corps, people working together for good. So that's really great to hear all that. We're down to our last 2 minutes, Justin. I'd like to ask you real quickly before we close, what do you see as the biggest challenges in banking right now, looking ahead the next few years?
The biggest challenges is something we kind of maybe the next few years it's kind of hit on a little bit. Trying to keep up with the consumer expectations around technology when it comes to banking. That's something that is going to be super important. That I think for all banks have to really there's a lot of money going right now and has been for a while into technology, online banking, and how do you make banking more effective and efficient. But the other thing is continuing to fight fraud, protect our customers, because technology grows. It unfortunately it's going to get easier, and there's going to be more avenues for people to come in and try to see what they can do. And so we continue to fight that fight, and that's going to be probably our two biggest things that we're going to have to obstacles we're going to have to face. So.
And I imagine, too, we're down to less than a minute, but I was just going to note that coming out of the pandemic, which I'm sure caused a lot of difficulties for a lot of people in our community, and just getting on a more sure path in terms of financial services and the banking industry, too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Justin, we're down to our final few seconds here. I just want to thank you for appearing on our program today and introducing us to the Think Bank. Those of you who may not know the location, the bank is located off Johnny Cake Ridge Road in Diffley, right here in Eagan. That's the closest location I know of in Eagan. But thank you for coming on and talking about the work of the Think Bank and the services that you provide. And we appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Steve. We really appreciate you having us today.